saving. Lacey and Jack stood back from the scene at the hot tub, watching the two local policemen decide what to do with the dead bride on the flagstones. The woman's legs were partially covered by her wedding dress, and a veil trailed from her hair back into the tub. Seaport was a small town, extremely small. The two cops seemed stunned to have a body on their hands. Lacey eyed the bruising around the dead woman's neck. This was a possible homicide. Where was the groom? She and Jack had spent several minutes alone with the woman. Jack had hauled the body out of the hot tub and was doing chest compressions by the time Lacey arrived, her cell phone connected to 911. She'd known at once that there was no hope, but Jack's training and optimistic nature had pushed him to try. After being assured the police were on their way, she'd run to the front desk to alert the staff. At 6 a.m, there was one clerk at the desk, a girl whose name tag said Jessica. She called the manager at home and started to follow Lacey to the scene, but halted when she saw the dead body in a dress and veil. "I'll get something to cover her up with," Jessica said, backing up with her gaze locked on the white flash. "Get some sheets. We don't want to cover her, but we can block your guests' views," Lacey said, scanning the balconies of the rooms surrounding the pool. No curious eyes met hers. Jessica froze. She couldn't be more than 20 years old. "We can't leave a body by the pool." Lacey pointed at the front desk area. "Go get the sheets." Jessica shakily nodded, turned, and dashed away. Lacey had pulled some chairs into position to block any direct view from the hotel rooms. She knew enough about a crime scene not to throw something over the victim before the police had arrived. Yes, she would love to give the woman some dignity, but once she'd seen the marks on her neck and exchanged a knowing glance with Jack, she knew they had to preserve any possible evidence, if they hadn't destroyed it already. The first cop to arrive, Matthews, had given Jack a bit of a hard time for pulling the body out of the hot tub. Jack had flushed and snapped, "If you've been in that tub, would you want me to blow some air in your lungs or worry about where I stepped?" The cop had shut up. Now Lacey and Jack simply watched. Matthews and the second cop, Garcia, seemed to struggle to get their thoughts in order. Jack had to prompt them to secure the scene. "Never seen a dead body before," Lacey heard Matthews whisper under his breath. She wished she could say the same. As a forensic specialist for the state of Oregon, she dealt with death on a daily basis. Her role usually came late in an investigation, after the remains had been cleaned, and she had simply bone and teeth to deal with, but there had been plenty of cases where she'd had to look directly into the mouth of death in its original setting. She was skilled at ignoring the smells of decay and keeping her focus where she was comfortable, the teeth. Sometimes she was the last hope for identification. Finding a positive match in the dental records was the highlight of her job. Attaching a name to a Jane Doe. Usually her cases were comparisons. Someone already had an idea of who the body was, and the medical examiner could locate dental records. But sometimes the cases were complete mysteries, turned over to her and the forensic anthropologist to uncover clues to the identity. She studied the body sprawled out on the flagstones. The woman had long, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Lacey couldn't guess her age. Water and death tend to distort a person's features, and unfortunately, the woman's veil covered the upper half of her face. Lacey was amazed that Jack had even tried CPR. "It's my job," he'd muttered after she'd pulled him away from the body, begging him to stop. It wasn't his job. It hadn't been in a long time. Jack had walked away from the police force after being shot and watching the pregnant woman he'd been trying to protect die before his eyes. Apparently, you could quit being a cop, but you couldn't take the cop instincts out of the man. Even though the body in the hot tub had been face down in the water when Lacey had spotted it from her balcony, the purpling of her skin on her calves told Lacey the woman had been on her back for a period of time after death. Had she died in the tub and then eventually rolled over? That was a question for the medical examiner. "Who are they going to send out here?" Jack whispered. She knew Jack was asking which pathologist the medical examiner's office would send to process the scene. This town was a good 3 hours from the main Portland office where she worked. "I don't know. Probably someone from the county office since it's closer." "Her legs are really bruised," Matthews commented to the other cop. "Do you think she was hip?"